6-volt Ego Power Plus blower. Power beyond belief.
Just because the tank is larger doesn't mean that this thing is going to do more than that one. That little hot dog compressor we looked at to begin with, there's a lot of merit to that. Why can't we kind of bridge those two together? And that's what they've done here.
Hey, what's up? Barnaby here. Otto van Goorink. This category overview of air compressors is for you. Salute! You don't even know who Otto van Goorink is, do you?
I went to different schools than him. So, yeah.
Well, he's been dead a long time, brother. 1650 was the year.
So he wasn't in my class?
No, probably not. Who is in your class? Metaphorically speaking.
You know, I'm large.
Yes, but he was a German physicist back in 1650, and he actually took us that quantum leap from the first compressor, which was the bellows, to something that actually was mechanized.
Oh.
So again, all of this that you see right here
all Otto.
Was spawned from the brain of Otto van Goorink. All right, so the necessity of a category overview is there are so many different things to choose from. Right? So what's this guy called?
That is an inflator. There's no tank involved with that thing. So that's just basically spitting out air. So you're not going to store anything. So basically, you want to inflate your tires on your car, you can do it with something like this. You want to inflate beach ball or stuff like that, you can do it with this. It's like one of those pumps, only now it's more automatic.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's
automatic.
Auto. See? 120 volt, 12 volts, so you can take it portable through your car, probably run it off a battery charger or the battery itself, right?
Yes.
And then the hot dog.
Hot dog.
Loving the hot dog.
Hot dog.
Yep, just a small compressor.
Yeah, they're kind of talking about the shape of the tank. And so, yeah, you get into these small compressors, and what you're going to do with this is like if you've got some service work at a house. Yeah. You got to do just a little bit of trim work with a nailer. You'd use one of these guys here. It's easy to get in and out of the house. Obviously, it's very light and portable. Yeah. It's probably pretty quiet. But you know, if you get into something like this, you're not going to be using framing nailers with it. No. Because they use a lot more air to shoot that nail. Right. And it's going to deplete this tank a lot quicker, which means the compressor's got to run to keep up with that, and the compressor probably doesn't have as much CFM as one of these bigger ones. So you're going to end up with your compressor running nonstop. Right. Which is not real good for them.
You're going to burn it out.
Yep.
Okay, so what you have to consider is the SCFM or CFM and how much tool consumption. I mean, for a big nailer driving a big piston, that's going to take a lot more.
Yeah, you look on your tools and find out what kind of CFM they're taking, what the cubic feet per minute, so how much air they need to run, and then you start looking at how many of those tools you're going to run at the same time, and then your tank size and CFM on the motor, and you want to do about 50-50, so that motor can run 50% of the time you're running the tool, and the rest of it's coming out of the tank.
Okay, cool. Well, look at this guy right here, because he is, I guess, a single stack or a hot dog, I guess you could call it that, but it's on wheels, man. So to me, it seems like it's more job site ready.
Yeah, you can move it around the job site a little easier. You don't have to break your back to pick it up. So that's kind of nice when they have those rollers on them.
Yeah, but it got two hose couplings right here.
Two hose coupling things.
And so could this run two tools simultaneously?
Well, it depends on the tools.
That's true.
But yeah, you've got a motor that's kicking out a lot more CFM probably than that little guy up there, obviously. And then you've got a bigger tank. So you've just upped the ability to move air. And so, if you're going to be running, you could probably run a framing nailer off something like this. You wouldn't want to do it all day long with a bunch of framing nailers because the compressor would be running all the time, and you want to avoid that. But if you wanted to do trim nailing, you're doing trim work in a house, they don't use as much air, and so you could run a couple trim nailers off this pretty well.
Yeah, so what you could do is actually, if you had two different nailers, you have two different hoses, so you don't have to keep switching from one to the other.
Yeah, like so if you're putting casings on, you want to switch sometimes between a finish nailer and a brad nailer. Yeah. Depending on where you're shooting in that casing, so that's nice.
Excellent, and then a pancake.
Compressor. We're still in the food.
Yeah. Interestingly, you look at this tank right here, it seems to be quite large. This tank actually has a greater capacity. It's just an optical illusion, right?
It's an optical illusion. So this is a 6-gallon tank. Yeah. And just because the tank is larger doesn't mean that this thing is going to do more than that one. Right. This is going to hold a lot of air, which is very nice, but still the motor inside here, you got to look at how many CFM is this thing producing. Right. So what can it keep up with? And that's kind of what decides, where it's got to be. It's got this right up here, which is interesting to talk about. The little depleter thing up here, so you can empty the air out. What you want to do when you're done with your compressor, put the valve on the bottom open, empty the air out, keep it open so that it doesn't have condensation happening inside, which leads to rust.
Rusty.
Yep.
Okay, now you got the double stack right here.
Double stack.
Okay, and this has the oil splash.
Yeah.
Right, which
and
means
oil
it's lubricated.
Yep, and we're talking about the motor there. There's not oil splashing. There shouldn't be oil splashing around the side here. But you've got a couple different types of motors. You could break them down into oilless motors and motors with oil in the sump and the motor. And an oilless motor is a little cleaner.
It's just going to be a little quieter, just as the setup.
Yeah, the oil motors are typically more quiet.
Right.
But oilless is a little easier to take care of. You don't have to change oil on them. An oiled motor like this is probably going to last a little bit longer if you take care of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, got to honor the tool.
Yes.
Okay, and now we've got the double stack right here, but this one's got a detachable head to it. Let's go through that.
Yes, it's like a space compressor.
It does look like it. I love the knobs.
Yeah, it's really cool. What you can do with this thing is it's kind of they're kind of saying, that little hot dog compressor we looked at to begin with, there's a lot of merit to that. If you want to, move around inside a house real easy, why can't we kind of bridge those two together? And that's what they've done here. They've made it so you can pop this top off here, and you can carry this along with you. And it's actually got a little tank on the side here.
Right.
So this becomes kind of like that hot dog compressor up there. And, that's not the only reason you'd break it apart.
Well, they say there's 5 different permutations of this.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you could take this inside, do the little punch list, right?
Yep.
You could put this outside because this is the noise maker, and then run a hose to your tanks, put the tanks inside, then run your tools off that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can keep it closer to a power supply so you don't have to run a long extension cord out to this thing. And that's nice because, a lot of them you don't want to run an extension cord for forever if you don't have to. It's a little bit nicer to your motor if you don't do it.
Okay, and then now this guy with the double stack, he's got the big, gosh, it's like you're starting a snowmobile or something.
Yes.
Look at that thing.
Yep.
Gas powered.
Yeah, when you get into one of these guys here, I see these a lot when you're doing framing on a house, when you just start a new house and there's no power at that house. You get up there and your options are either one of these guys or you got to get a power supply and a compressor.
Yeah, so generator compressor.
Yeah, get your generator out, run it to your compressor, run your compressor, and you start thinking about that and you go, why can't we just meld those two together?
Yeah.
And that's what you get here. So yeah, it's portable. They're pretty heavy, but you could move it around if you want. Most of the guys I see leave these things right in their vans, and they run them from right in there, or not in their vans, in their trailers.
Right, and I guess just to satisfy, I don't know, just the lowest common denominator, you wouldn't use one of these inside a house.
I guess not. I mean, unless the walls aren't built yet. But
then would you be in a house actually?
I guess you wouldn't be inside then. So you're correct. But
you'd be in a pavilion. Yeah.
You'd be on a platform.
There you go.
So yeah, if you're not really gonna use these for any of that work.
Okay, but you could use this inside a garage.
Yeah, you get into these.
Get back to electric, right?
Back to electric. So you see these guys here, and you're thinking really big tank, and it is a big tank, but it's not nearly as big as they come.
Not the biggest tank I've seen.
No, you can get really big tanks with these guys and bigger motors, and you can get them so they can run pretty much full time. And what you're looking at here is what drives your decision on which size tank and which size motor to get is, again, going back to the tools you're going to run.
Right.
If you're going to run air tools, die grinders, impact wrenches and stuff like that, they use a ton of air.
Right.
Paint sprayers use a ton of air.
Absolutely.
And so you're going to need a large tank and a large motor to keep up with that. Now you got to decide, is it going to be just me doing it? Am I going to be in my garage? Is this something I like to work on cars or something like that? Or, am I going to maybe start off a little garage and have a couple of guys in there?
Sure.
That's going to help you decide, what size of one of these guys to buy.
Excellent. Well, do the math, do the homework, buy the right tool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's what we do here at toolselect.com. We try to give you from start to finish the information you'll need to familiarize yourself with the topic. In this case, it's air compressors. But we have a wide range of category overviews depending on the tools you're looking to get into, because that's what we're all about, finding the right tool for the job here at toolselect.com.